Welcome to the Hollywood Scholar. I'm Jed Morgan, and I found this hilarious article right as the roundtable ended yesterday, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it, so I wanted to talk about it now. And this article comes to us from the Metro, and I just can't believe the type of logic that they use to explain away that Dark Souls has always been queer is in someone's head. Like someone thought, oh yeah, this makes sense. If this were a troll, I think this was hilarious, but this is absolutely serious. People think that the evidence presented in this article proves that Dark Souls is a queer allegory, but not also a queer allegory, an anti-capitalist allegory. Now, when people come up with explanations like this for games and stuff like this, like hidden meanings, it's usually nonsense, and in this case, it is absolutely nonsense. 9 times out of 10, a game is not trying to make an anti-capitalist message when it's in something like this. But the queer stuff is where it gets really special. So, Dark Souls and the rest of the From Software Soulsborne series don't look particularly queer at first glance. Do you know why that is? Because they're not. We'll get into it farther here. But their big point of evidence in this first paragraph is apparently in an English translation, not in the original translation. So not in the original game, just in the English translation, a female character is referred to with male pronouns temporarily. That seems like a mistake in translation. If it isn't universal and wasn't intended and just happens to happen in the English translation, that wasn't the original intent of the game. So it is not in the core game. It is not the publisher's, the creator's intent. It's a mistake. So they're hanging a lot of their evidence off of a mistake in translation. So whatever, this Gwendolyn character apparently uses male pronouns temporarily in the English translation only, and in Dark Souls 3 is referred to as a brother in the English translation. That's not proof. That is a mistake. But then they go on to say, oh, you get to have a lot of freedom when you're creating your characters in these games, which makes it queer. And yeah, that stuff I don't really want to get into. It's not really that impressive evidence. It's just like, oh, you have lots of freedom. It means you're queer. Whatever. But apparently in 2012 and 13, scholars began investigating video games and figuring out how queer they were on a spectrum. And it's pretty funny the type of stuff that they bring up in this queer study. And this queer game study discusses how game narratives, game mechanics, and even game interfaces can be queer and queered. And do you know why? Because they're non-normative. If something's not normal, then it must be gay. That's their explanation here. This is their evidence here for why Dark Souls is gay. But it gets even better than this. How this potential exists in every game, even in Dark Souls, and how it can be used in order to push forward what video games are and how they should be played and by whom. Well, that's a bit of random nonsense. But it's going into here saying, oh, moments like failure is a big part of the Dark Souls game. And absolutely, the you died screen can be very frustrating, but apparently that's a gay allegory as well. So this guy, Jesper Jewell, claims that we play video games because we want to achieve success. Sir, to a certain extent, I'm not against that. Failure promises success and thus happiness. Sure, that's not bad. Then in another study, The Queer Art of Failure, it encourages us to see failures as something more and queerer than stepping stones on a road to happiness. So failure is now gay? I'm not sure that is sending the message that these people think it's sending, because that's a really weird way to take it. Heteronormative common sense leads to the equation of success with advancement, capital accumulation, family, ethical conduct, and hope. So when you fail at doing those things, you're gay, and so if you fail in a video game, you're failing, which means you're gay. So failure is associated with nonconformity, anti-capitalist practices, non-reproductive lifestyles, negativity, and critique. So because the Dark Souls games are hard and you fail a lot, means it's non-conformative, which means it's anti-capitalist, which means you're gay. What type of string of logic and argument is this? Failure is associated with queerness. Is that an association you want to make? Gay people in my audience, I love you all, of course, but these people sounding crazy. These people sound crazy. Do you want failure to be associated with queerness? Because if I were gay, I would not people to want, yeah, if you fail a lot, that means you're gay. That means you're queer. That means you're, what the hell? I just don't know. There's pleasure in failing. And then they say, oh, even the director of the Dark Souls games agrees with us. Now let's read this quote that they say proves that the director is meaning anti-capitalism and meaning pro-queerness by having the games be so hard. So this is a quote from the game director. I've never been a very skilled player. I die a lot. So in my work, I want to answer the question, if death is to be more than a mark of failure, how do I give it meaning? How do I make death enjoyable? In Dark Souls, failures become interesting. They become stories we tell on Twitter and videos we upload on YouTube. That's actually a really cool quote from the director. He's like, yeah, I wanted to really delve into the idea of death and how we give it meaning and how difficult we make this game. How can we make death enjoyable by making the game so hard and so fulfilling? Nothing about that quote supports these insane statements by this article's writer and these studies that he's referencing. It's like, what the hell? It's like, oh, it's hard and death, I want to make it enjoyable. He's clearly talking about being gay. See, we're right. The fuck does that even mean? And apparently there's this like a Bloodborne fan-made game, and there's some comments by that game's director that apparently support this, but that's a fan-made game. It's not actually in the real universe, so I don't really care about that. But the article goes on to say, the position of your body within space, its orientation also matters. Queer is, after all, a spatial term, which then gets translated into a sexual term. A term for a twisted sexuality that does not follow a straight line. This is where it gets really, really good. A sexuality that is bent or crooked. And that's apparently the definition. So they're saying, oh, queer is also a spatial term, not just a sexuality term, but they're interchangeable now. So you can walk in a gay line now, apparently. In a gay, if you don't wander, this is it. If you don't wander, if you don't queer your journey through the original Dark Souls, you won't even find out that there's an alternate ending. So if you don't just wander around, because the Dark Souls game, it wants you to explore, it wants you to go out and find other characters, other endings, other story ideas. That means it's gay. That means it's queer. The fuck? Just because you don't go through your story in a straight line doesn't make it gay. Straight and not straight have different definitions when it's talking about the way you're moving, where you're going, the direction you're heading versus your sexuality. But these people, they can't differentiate these different definitions. So it's like, the story doesn't go in a straight line, so it must be gay. Of course! And that's what they always intended. You have to go find other stories, other characters, so it's gay! It's queer, guys! It's queer because we're not going in a straight line no more. The story's not in a straight line no more, so it's gay! It's so dumb! If you follow the predetermined path, the straight path, and fulfill the prophecy, if you behave like a good chosen one, you won't ever find out that there's another path and other possibilities. Because you don't follow the path. How is that a metaphor for queerness? How is that a metaphor for anti-capitalism? In these games, even time is not straight. So yeah, there's some wonkiness with time. So time is gay now. Time is queer now. Our whole life is regulated in order to promote capitalist production and consumption and heterosexual reproduction. So, because time's all wonky, it's anti-capitalist. I just can't believe that someone is arguing for this. In these games, there's not one definitive story either. Here, stories are plural, fragmented, and intertwined, and players get and help each other unravel them. That's really cool. I love games like that, but that doesn't make it gay. Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and you get to choose your ending. Does that mean that game's queer too? By this argument, every game that lets you make a decision is queer, which doesn't make any sense. Storylines being straight and linear do not mean it's straight in the sexuality term. Straight has a different definition when it comes to sexuality versus direction. That's what this whole article is based on, is they can't differentiate the definitions of the word straight. Because they can't differentiate, everything that's not straight means it's gay. That is a very dumb approach. Words can mean multiple things. Not to these people. They have to mean the same thing in every single context and every use of the word. So these people are highly uneducated if they believe this, and highly asinine if they're like, you don't go in a straight line, so it means you're gay. So what if Rickon from Game of Thrones, the fact that he ran in a straight line, that means he's straight and deserved to die? Or that was an allegory for, like, if you follow straightness, if you're a straight person, you die. But if you zigzag like a gay person or like a queer person, you live. No, it's just a battle tactic. It has nothing to do with Rickon sexuality or a metaphor for Rickon sexuality. What the fuck are these people smoking? If we look at it at representational failures and its hypermasculine prepare to die marketing, Dark Souls can seem very straight. It's not a very straight game either. There's no romance in it. There's no interactions between the characters in that sense. There's no sexuality in the Dark Souls games. And that's one reason I don't really love the Dark Souls games. I played several of them. They're just not for me. I like stories and characters. That's something that the Dark Souls games just really don't have, in my opinion. The character interactions are so lackluster that it just feels so bland to me. But that's just me. Games don't have to be made for everyone, and I respect these games and know that they're great games. They're just not made for me, and that's okay. But it's not hypermasculine or straight facing, or whatever the current term is faking being straight. But if we delve more deeply into it, and we look into the way it reframes failure, community, bodies, and non-straightness of time, space, and progression and narratives, we understand that Dark Souls has always been queer. So their evidence so far: a mistranslation from the original language into English, not proof. The story doesn't go in a straight line and you get to choose your own ending. Not proof. Story in straight has multiple definitions, and time is wonky, so it's gay. No, that's just non-linear storytelling, non-linear time, not gay. And all this other stuff is just completely. And failure, that's the big one that really confuses me. These people are like, failure means you're gay. Failure means you're queer. So if you fail in a game, that means you're queer. What the fuck kind of message is that trying to send to actual gay people out there? It's like, yeah, you just fail a lot, so when we see failure, we think of you. That would be incredibly insulting to me. I'm gonna be honest. So it's like, yeah, you failed at something, that means you're gay. Oh, and it's anti-capitalist too, because failure is bad and capitalism. What the fuck kind of argument is that? You can apply that same logic to everything, and the straight argument to everything, and make everyone and everything in the world queer or gay. And that is just the dumbest thing I have ever heard. Oh, you're driving down the road, and you have to swerve to miss something, an obstacle in the road. Ooh, you swerved, so that meant you were temporarily gay, and it saved your life. Being gay saved your life. What the fuck? That is nonsense. Or you fail to swerve and you hit that obstacle in the middle of the road, and because you failed, that means you're gay. And then you get hurt because you were gay. The fuck kind of argument is this? The fuck did I just read? But that's just how access media, mainstream media behaves these days, with these asinine articles that have zero basis in logic or the real world or reality. Because these arguments are so asinine that I can't even fathom. My head has trouble wrapping itself around the type of arguments that this article made. Time is gay now. If it's not straight, oh, it's anti-capitalist, whatever. I really just can't believe that this is something that someone thought was a good idea to publish in a mainstream website. But anyway, that's all I have for today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Anon. If you like what I do here and want to see good, compelling stories that Hollywood will no longer give you, check out my book series, Odyssey of a Phoenix, a mythological epic about philosophy, morality, and modern-day mental illness issues. Books 1, Down in Flames, and Book 2, Apocalypse Then, currently on sale. Book 3, Kill the Dark, coming soon.